Hello racers, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, it's the first video in a 3-video series of tuning this TLR 5.0 DC, but the special part about this is it has the 4-gear stand-up transmission. The goal of the video series is to tune the car for the tracks and see if we can get it on the podium of the races that we enter. So, first question is, what is a 4-gear transmission? Well, the 4-gear transmission was an option part for the 22 4.0. And I think it might have been around for the 3, but it is definitely for the 22 4. And you can see in the book, it talks about how to install the 4-gear transmission. And the book says, the optional 4-gear transmission assembly not included has worked very well for low to medium high grip surfaces to provide more weight transfer to the rear. And then it goes on to tell you how to install it and how to assemble it and all that kind of stuff. So the 4-gear does exist. What is the difference between that 4-gear and a 3-gear transmission? Here's the 3-gear transmission I took out of the car. See that the spur gear is on the opposite side. Now, what does a 4-gear do? Well, the 4-gear with the additional gear in it, the motor spins in the same direction as the tires. So anyone who's done some jumping in 2-wheel drive off-road knows that when you get on a jump and you give it throttle in the air, it'll pitch the nose up, or if you put the brakes on in the air, it'll pitch the nose down. A 4-gear transmission will amplify that effect. So on power, it's driving the rear of the car into the ground, and then off power, it's allowing the front to settle in and bite for steering. So that's how it works over a 3-gear stand-up. If you only have a 3-gear stand-up, well, that will work much better than a 3-gear laydown on a low grip surface. So why have I installed this in my car? Well, my cars, the tracks that I race on, are typically low grip, low to medium low grip, and the 4-gear stand-up works perfect on that. Our tracks are very hard packed, typically hard packed clay, and because of that they'll get dust on the top. So throughout the day they'll get dust, and as the day progresses they'll get slipperier and slipperier. So let's take a look at the track that we're going to be racing on. And then we'll come back here and take a look at the base setup that I put on this car. See you in a second. So we are here at the club racetrack. This track they call Skunkworks Test Track, and it was originally designed to be just a small track to test cars on, and we would build, with the different tracks in the region, we would build a different layout that incorporated each one of their features. So if a track had a corner hip, we built the quarter hip. If they had a set of doubles, we built a set of doubles. So that's what it is. So it's quite small, but it's a fun little track. It's made for racing. You can see the obstacles aren't very high. It's more for racing side by side versus an obstacle course. But what I wanted to show you was the surface that it turns out to be. Now, the surface is treated currently with some calcium, which does give it some sticky grip. But when that wears off after rain or something, what we're left with, and I'll show you here, is a good example. You get this hard pack surface, but you get this dust. You can see, here's a better example down here. You get this dust. So it's hard packed with dust, and what seems to work on this situation is a tire like a Whole Shot, like a Proline Whole Shot, or Proline, or a Jconcepts Double-D, or any of those pin style tires is how you get grip on this. So the track would be probably considered a low to medium grip. It's not a high grip track at all. And with the And when you get this dust that's in the corners, what happens is you get a tire in that and you'll go right to the pipe. So you got to watch out getting out of the line. You can see here, you can see the dust in the line coming into this corner. So that's what we're going to tune the car for. And the majority of the tracks in my area are this type of clay, where you get a hard packed surface, and then as the day progresses you'll get this loose surface on top that you need a pin. A bar tire just won't stick to something like this, so you do need the pin tire. So we'll tune the car for this low to medium grip, and we'll see how we make out on the next club racing night after the car is tuned. See you in a few minutes. And we are back from the track walk. As you can see, these old school hard packed tracks can get really dry and dusty, which makes them super slippery. So over the years, as TLR has brought out new cars, they actually tune the base setup of the car to the tracks of the day. And the tracks of today are more high grip than they were of back in the days of the TLR 1 or the TLR 2. So the base setup I put on this car was a setup that I have been working on with my old TLR 22 2.0 for quite a few years. So that base setup will get this very close to what you need for a very dry and dusty loose grip surface. For tires, I am going to run a Jconcepts Double-D's V2 in green in the rear, because I want a lot of rear grip. And for the front, I got mounting up a set of these Rips front tires in blue. I find that combo works very good for this type of car and surface. Let's take a look at the general setup. First off, set the front axle as low as you can to the arm through the shims. That will give you more side bite and more steering. So I set mine all the way down, except for one little 1 millimeter at the top, just so I can have some adjustment on track day, race day. I have short little links. There is a little 2 millimeter spacer out at the hub. It's a little black spacer plastic. The shocks are mounted in the center hole, top and bottom, and that'll give it very neutral suspension in the front, filled with 30 weight shock oil, and that'll give me an option to move the shocks around on race day if I need to. So 30 weight. Oh, and the springs are the old 22 red springs, fairly soft. In the center of the car, you can see that I have mounted my battery as far back as I could, and I really didn't have a good battery holder, so I went with the old school tie down. What I did is I took my body reamer and I reamed out the holes, so I still have a bit of flex there. It's not a tight fit. The body pins are holding them in there. Electronics are a bit messy. I kind of temporarily mounted them in to see how all this was going to work. I got the R1 battery, and for motor, I have a Surpass V3, which is a very strong motor. This is a 10.5 spec edition. Comes with aluminum hardware in it. Working our way to the back. First thing you can notice is in here, I got the brass C hub. The brass C block, in there to add a bit more weight to the center. It's all about rear weight in the two-wheeled, in the low grip situation. Mechanical weight, mechanical grip in the back. A lot of weight pushing down. I have it set, the toe blocks, with 4 degrees of rear toe, again, which is helpful. You can see I've moved my hub pretty much all the way to the front, except for a very small 0.5 millimeter shim. Mounted the shocks to the rear. These are white springs, as you can see, filled with 27.5 shock oil. 30 in the front, 27.5 in the rear. 2 degrees of anti-squat. You can also see in the back I've added 50 grams of rear weight to really get that mechanical grip. So the car is approximately 60 some percent rear weight versus 40 some in the front. In the rear also, center hole in the shock bottoms, and I went with the top of the shocks all the way out for a bit more rear support because these springs are fairly soft. A bit more rear support for that. The links are kind of in the medium position. They're not in the longest hole, but they're in the next hole back. It gives a bit more, lets the car roll a bit more too. I think that's what we have here for the base setup. Oh, and these hubs, I should mention, the hubs themselves are the low 0 millimeter hubs, I'll call them. And what that means is the axle is very low to the arm. Low to the arm gives you more side bite and more grip. The car is all set up for grip because of the low grip situation that we're in. So with that all said, that covers the base setup. Let's go take this to the track and race the Dirt Offroad Masters and see if I can get this on the podium. See you there. Yeah, here we are at the Dirt Offroad Masters race. This is the A-main and 2-wheel drive buggy. 7 in the main, and I qualified 5th. You can see my car. It's orange with a yellowish front. It's over there on the right, just ahead of those 2 lighter cars. I'm in 5th place, and to get to 3rd, I got to pass a couple of cars. It's going to be tough with this field, so I'm going to need some luck. Let's follow around on this first lap. You can see that a few got tangled there into the top left. Let's see how this turns out as the cars come in front of the camera. You can see 1st and 2nd coming, 3rd, 4th, and my car going by, and 5th going on to the straight. So, after the first lap, there was a tangle, but I have made no progress. So my race thought is to get the first few laps clean, get used to the handling of the car, and then see where we are from there. Going on to the straight now, through the top sweeper over into the left corner loop. That's an off camber, so it tends to spin the rear of the car out a bit. Now once again coming, you can see that I'm making some gains on 4th, and 3rd has just had a bobble on the straight. So with a bobble, I'm now sitting in 4th with 3rd place right in front of my car. Here we go through the infield, coming in front of the camera now. 3rd place, and I'm in 4th going on to the straight. At this point in time, the track, as you can see, does have a race line in the center, but if you get off that line, there's quite a bit of dust. So we'll see how that comes into play as we race around the track. Coming in front of the camera again, 3rd, and my car 4th onto the straight. I noticed that I didn't have much experience with this car. I just recently built it, so it takes me quite a few laps to get the feel of the car. You can see that now I'm closing up on 3rd, going on to the straight. Just neck and neck here. Things are going very well. Keeping the pressure on 3rd to see if I can force an unforced error. Going through the middle section, hairpin, coming in front of the camera now. Going over the bump and onto the straight. And 3rd place has just made a bobble into that sweeper, and I'm now up into 3rd. So this race, although started off a little rough, I am making progress. You see through that section, I get all out of sorts, get into that dust that I talked about. You get out of the racing line, the dust was pretty thick. This was the last main of the day, so there was a lot of dust in the corners and such. Going through the infield now. My car is now going over the bump and onto the straight. Through the far sweeper into the left. And then down through to the hairpin. Now there is a couple of cars ahead of me at this point. I would be catching up to the cars in the back of the pack. One just happened to bobble and I got by onto the straight there. Going into the top left and through into the hairpin. I was having a little bit of trouble with the hairpin at this time of the day. With the, I was just kind of getting in there too quick and pushing in too deep into that corner, really slowing the car down. So let's see how I do through there. Going through that double section. Now I have the second place car right ahead of me. This is probably as close as I've been to second. Second is the white and pink. It's coming into the hairpin section now. I'm going into the hairpin section now. Got too wide, bit of a bobble, and now I got stuck and needed a marshal. Going through the double section, a little bit of a tangling. And through all that effort, fourth place is right behind me. Feet within feet of the car, so all that progress is gone in just a little bobble in the hairpin. Marshall's out getting another car at the hairpin. I'm coming through the double section, going through the hump in front of the driver's stand and onto the straight. There's lots of time left in this race. It's an 8-minute race, so I'm thinking I have a good feel of the car. Fourth place is behind and not really making gains. Not a lot of pressure there. He's there if there is a bobble, but he's not really pushing and trying to make passes, so that's good. It takes a lot of the effort off, so I can keep focused on cars ahead of me versus trying to play defense. So not taking a lot of defensive lines. Onto the straight. A yellow car did get ahead of me a bit. He pulls wide and lets my car third and fourth place by. Going into the hairpin. Through the double section. Fourth place got a very good line through there, and you can see tighten things up a bit. A little bit of a bobble in that top left, and what that has done is let the fourth place car through to third. You can see us coming onto the straight. I'm now running fourth place with that red car ahead in third. So in that top left, that off-camber corner, spun the car out slightly, and the front tire got against the pipe just enough for him to go by. Still 2 minutes left, so I'm not panicked at this point. Just seeing if I can clean up the lines. Just one car stands in the way of the podium. Lost a bit of time in that little left corner. Going through the doubles. Get a good run through there. Still about 10 feet from third. Coming down through top left. And through the center toward the... I'm thinking I gotta do this pretty quick through there. And luckily for me I did. I was able to tighten it up ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. Not many laps left in this race now. Getting a little bit closer, although it still feels like it's the same distance. Coming onto the straight now. Still in fourth. Unfortunately, a bobble in the sweeper, and that was a major mistake this late in the race. You can see that third is now pulled quite far away, at least a straightaway lead. So third is coming into front of the driver's stand onto the straight. My car's through the driver's stand onto the straight. So that was a disastrous, unforced error. So we're in the last throws of the race. By third tangles with the pipe. There's a marshal there. There's some bobbling. The third place racer felt that he pulled in front of me, so he waited, and he allowed me to take third for the race. So made the podium a little bit hollow where it was a big tangle at the end. But I think if he had waited for the marshal, I would have still gone by. So we'll take a third place for the debut of the TLR 22 5.0 with the 4-gear transmission. So there you have it. If you like this type of thing, click like, comment if you have any questions, and to see the next video in the series, click subscribe and you'll be notified when it's up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.